I'm Tina. I'm 21 years old and I graduated from law school and did my master's of law without doing the LSAT. So I thought that this would be a really good opportunity for me to connect with LSAT Unplugged in a collaboration and speak about the new LSAT, the new format, and all the changes that this could set for new law students applying for the future.
Awesome, Tina. Well, thanks for having me on. It's great to connect with you, and I'm happy to share any insights I have around the recent changes with the new online LSAT Flex.
Yes, thank you. Do you think that the new LSAT being online is going to be different for those, especially when it comes to how they're going to feel writing the exam?
Yeah, I think it's going to be actually quite different as an experience. First off, it's online at home. You're not going to some test center with a bunch of other people. It's also shorter, 3 sections, not 5. So you're done in 2 hours. I think it's a great test day experience for a lot of people. So I'm glad they were able to come up with this so quickly.
Yeah. And do you think that this should set precedents? Do you think that after the coronavirus, we should go back to the original format? Or do you think this would be a really good opportunity for LSAT to keep it this way for the remaining LSAT examinations?
I can't see too many reasons why they would want to go back to the in-person, given all the logistical advantages of it being online. No having to commute anywhere, no issues with test centers being overbooked. I think it's much more convenient overall. And there are a couple of issues around it, and the question of whether 3 sections is as good as 5 sections or how they would do experimental sections. But if they can figure that out, I think it's going to be the long term for sure.
Exactly. And what about proctoring? I know it could be really easy for people to get flagged. I know when it comes to cheating, normally people, like, I know when I was writing the bar exam and I was there, I just would look around the room a lot. And so it's just normal. You know, when you're nervous, it's just, what do you think that this is going to affect, or how do you think this is going to affect people writing the LSAT online on their computers?
Yeah, you want to be pretty careful about avoiding those kinds of flagging events. And so if you live with anybody else, really make it clear to them that there will be severe consequences for them and for you if they interrupt in any way or make any noise. They have said they are okay with pets being in the room. That's fine. But they do track things like eye movements. So if you were looking around the room a lot, that might get flagged, and they'll look at the recording of your proctored situation and just to look into it. But you want to avoid those, and it really is at their discretion, a lot of this. And so you want to be as clear as possible that you're not doing anything inappropriate.
Exactly. And also another thing that I was wondering, do you think that this is going to change LSAT prep programs and all of those companies that prep them? Like, do they have to have a different program for this? You know, I know this was for me with the bar exam when I was doing it with Themis. They had a whole plan and they had like a whole schedule for it. Do you think this is going to change them or like have any effect to them or no?
Yeah, it definitely requires some changes. Personally, I've made a lot of changes to my courses and my coaching as well, specifically because it is a different experience. And we can't assume this is a one-off. Already they made the April LSAT into a May LSAT Flex. They made the June in-person LSAT in North America into another LSAT Flex. And it does require some changes in how you prep. First off, the content of the exam has not changed. I should emphasize that. But the weighting is a little bit different because in the normal in-person LSAT, it was 4 scored sections, 2 of them being logical reasoning, about half the exam. Now it's only 1/3 of the exam, and the weighting is changing as a result. So logical reasoning matters a little bit less. Games and reading comp matter a little bit more. But overall, the question types and the sections are still the same. But the weighting is different. The other thing is test day simulation. We're not worrying about distractions at a testing center or other people being around there, but you also got to make sure, again, home environment is good, internet connection is good, your personal device, your computer is also good. So those are important things to emphasize all of the details because the LSAT is the number one factor in the law school admission process.
It's true. It's a huge factor. And I think it's really good because they're not going to be nervous, seeing thousands of people there and but the other thing is I feel kind of bad for those who may not have these resources such as really good internet and really good situations at home. Some people live in a family with like 6-7 people or just like a small apartment or with roommates. So do you think that's going to be kind of disadvantageous to those people, or how do you think that they can find a way around it, especially because of coronavirus? It's not like we can tell them like, just go to the library or something like that, That's
a really good point. Yeah, not everybody has a good home environment where there aren't distractions or lots of noise. And also there's internet issues, there's personal device issues. And so you got to make a decision. Do I have a good home environment for this or not? Because if you don't, you should contact LSAC as soon as possible, and they can provide you with a loaner device and possibly even a place to take the exam at a local law school or a local university. But you got to set that up in advance. You don't want it to be, I thought it would be kind of okay, most likely, and then the internet was shaky. And if the internet glitches out for just a second, they'll probably let you continue. But if there were a power outage, or if you had consistent spotty bandwidth issues throughout, that could lead them to simply cancel your exam. And you don't want to have to do that. You put so much into this. You don't want to have to wait another month or two because of something like that. And so test your internet, make sure it's reliable, make sure, along with being quiet, that the people you live with also aren't doing tons of video streaming or on video calls, which could really eat into that.
Exactly. And also, if you don't mind me asking, what do you think are the other disadvantages to the LSAT being online versus some of the advantages?
I think one of the biggest disadvantages to it is if logical reasoning was a strong area for you, because previously it was half the exam. If you're reducing its importance a little bit, that means games is more important, reading comp is more important. So everyone has their personal areas of strength and weakness that will lead them to either like or dislike the LSAT Flex, given that. So that's one big thing I'd be thinking about. Another thing I'd be thinking about is the fact that some people may have done their previous prep really focused on paper and pencil outside North America, or they may have done previous prep getting ready to do it on a tablet. And so either way, you've got to change it to be on a computer specifically. So those who don't have, who have been using books, they should really change it up more than ever, because we know it's going to be either on a computer or on a tablet for the vast majority of people. And so the best thing to do is get the exams in the actual digital format. You can get them from LSAC, available online anywhere in the world with internet. And so I would highly recommend seeking that out.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was available. So shout out to LACC for that. Also, another thing, how do you think that this is going to affect law school admissions for those who are seeking? Maybe some people will not be able to adjust to this very easily. I mean, people are putting months to this. Everybody that I know wrote the LSAT put at least 6-7 months to studying for the LSAT, some 3 or 4. And the recent changes were announced in April. Was it in April that they announced the recent changes? Or so
it was April.
Just 1 month for people to. So how do you see this affect? Do you think that there are going to be lower acceptance rates, higher acceptance rates, or do you think this is not even going to affect law school admissions at all?
I'm not sure that the format change will affect admissions overall. I'm seeing that given the COVID situation, a lot of folks might not want to start law school this fall. They're kind of taking a wait and see approach. So folks might want to wait and apply this fall, but start law school next fall. Alternatively, next fall may be more competitive. Applying this fall may be more competitive because of the economic downturn going on right now. So overall, it may be more competitive, but I don't think that LSAT Flex is affecting that one way or another. Yeah. Folks may also have to deal with the ambiguity of not knowing which format they're going to get, digital LSAT on tablet in person or LSAT Flex. I think the closer your exam date is at the moment, speaking in early May, the more likely it is to be an LSAT Flex. But we don't really know what's going to happen going forward. We don't know if the fall LSATs will be one format or the other. One thing I can say on the admissions side, though, is that law schools have said that they will take LSAT Flex results no differently than regular in-person LSAT results. And so a lot of folks are thinking, will law schools look at this better or worse than the others? And they consider it valid. LSAC says it's valid. They've done all their detailed statistical analysis to confirm that it's a good, reliable indicator compared to the regular LSAT. And so I wouldn't worry about which format you're getting from an admissions perspective.
Okay, that's really good. And a random question, I don't know how comfortable you're going to feel answering this. What would you change about the LSAT?
Ooh, that's a good question. Wow.
What would you change about the LSAT? Say you're writing it in May. What would you change about the LSAT? What would make in a fair way, or maybe in just not a fair way? I don't know if that makes sense. Like how would you change, and what would you change, and why?
I think it's actually a really good exam overall compared to others. And obviously I'm biased. I love this exam. This is my passion. It's my career. But I've looked at other exams. I've looked at the SAT, the GRE, the GMAT, and none of them is nearly as interesting. I also think that the LSAT is really closely tied to what it's meant to prepare you for, or at least serve as a gatekeeper for. Like, it's the gatekeeper to the legal profession, but the critical reasoning and deductive reasoning that you are tested on is very closely related to what you do in law school itself. So it has a close relationship where, like, the GRE is testing general math and vocabulary. A lot of folks are doing master's programs or PhDs that don't have a lot to do with that.
That's true. Yeah.
I also think that LSAT they're very precise in the way they write the questions. They hold themselves to a very high standard that I don't think other exams come close to. If I had to change one thing about it, though, the writing sample is currently unscored. They don't really evaluate it. Law schools can look at it. They cannot look at it. It's up to them. They're more likely to look at it now because it's typed and online, whereas before they couldn't read people's handwriting. If I could
Yes.
change one thing, I would love for them to actually score the writing samples to give it a bit more importance, given just how important writing is in the legal profession. That's my
Yeah.
biggest change. But overall, I think games, reasoning, reading comp, they all have their valid reasons for being on the exam. Personally, I think that logical reasoning should remain half of the exam, not 1/3, because I think it's more closely tied to what you do in law school.
Yeah.
But I understand the need to adjust for the LSAT Flex given the format.
Yeah. That's very true. And speaking of that, do you have any recommendations for people who are adjusting? Like you said, for some people, that may have been the logical reasoning may have been their strong suit. So, do you have any advice for them or anything at all?
Spend more time on games and reading comp. That's what the exam dictates. It's what you got to focus on. Or if you've got a long timeline ahead of you, maybe you want to wait and see if they do return back to in-person LSATs so that you at least get to do the exam with half logical reasoning. That
Yeah.
plays more to your strengths.
Yeah. I personally hope that they're going to keep it this way. Like with the Flex online, I think it'd be way, way easier. I know when I was writing the bar exam, I was really nervous about like thousands of people being there and, just a test center, noise, you forgetting one small thing, but being in the comfort of your own home, I think it would actually bring people's scores up a little higher. So I hope that they stay like this.
Yeah, I think removing that kind of anxiety, especially since more and more things are going online anyway, I don't
Yeah.
see the need to put people in such a stressful, unique environment. I mean, most of the work you do in your career is at a desk in a more comfortable environment. You're not surrounded in an auditorium by dozens or hundreds of people. That's
Yeah.
that's abnormal. The home
That's
environment, especially with people working from home, is actually more similar to what you would be doing in the real world.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Even if you go to court, it's not like a courtroom with thousands of people. Like, you know what I mean? So I totally agree with you on that point. And what do you see for the future of the LSAT if it remains online? Do you think that more people will take it, or do you think that less people will take it? Considering the adjustment of like logical reasoning not being there, or people not being able to have a home or Wi-Fi and stuff like that. Like, what do you think how do you think this is going to affect the future of the LSAT?
I suspect that it being online would make it more convenient overall, and more people would actually be able to take it.
Sure.
Previously, testing centers would get booked up. Folks would have to decide, do I wait or do I travel to another state potentially to take
Yeah.
it? Some folks who were in college, they'd be flying back home to their parents just to take the LSAT because the one at their college was booked up,
Yeah.
or having to travel in general to take it. Even folks taking it outside North America, they'd travel from one part of China to a totally different part of China because their city didn't have one.
That's
So
true.
those barriers are removed with it being online. I think anything that makes it more convenient to do overall will lead more people to take it. And another recent change they've made is they made the LSAT much more frequent. It used to be only 4 times a year. Now
Yeah.
it's 9 or 10 times a year. And with it being online and LSAC not having to book testing centers, I could see them maintaining that and possibly even going to every single month or more frequent than that if they can figure out how to source the questions.
Yeah, that's very true. I do agree with that. And I think that even though there may be some issues with them, such as proctoring and, making sure there's no cheating, it's something that they could learn along the way. I don't think that those issues are big enough for them to decide that, let's just go back to the original LSAT where it's in person.
Exactly. And there were always potential cheating issues with it being in person anyway. And so it's not really that different. I think the cheating concern is somewhat overblown. And as you said, more generally, the more they do this, the better they'll get at administering it and handling the logistical stuff or the tech issues. And the more they do it online, the more likely that is to become the new normal.
Yeah. I also think it's generally a really good change for law students because, as you know, like the LSAT is a huge portion of law school admissions, but it's not the only portion. They have so many factors going in, and just making the LSAT a little bit easier or more convenient for them is going to be really, really good for future law school applicants, in my opinion.
Exactly. And LSAC, they're doing more and more, especially in recent years, to be more student friendly, more student focused, make it more convenient. And so this is a big part of that. And I'm excited to see where they take it.
Yeah. And how do you think this is going to change your YouTube channel and what you're providing to LSAT takers? Do you think it's going to be, are you ready for the changes? Like, do you have anything that you're going to change, or do you think that you can remain more or less the same with your channel and everything that you're providing?
Oh, I'm doing a whole lot more than I used to. I was already putting out tons of videos all the time, but now with the recent LSAT change, like the Flex, which is really the biggest change I've seen in my career, I think even bigger than the digital LSAT, I'm putting out more and more information every day about the latest LSAT Flex changes as we learn more to best serve students. So I'm putting out full-length online classes. I'm putting out discussions like this. I'm putting out explanations of different LSAT strategies. And so multiple times a day, I'm keeping it up, especially stay-at-home orders. I have more time to focus on videos. I've adapted my in-person courses to be online. And so, yeah, just more, especially for folks who are busy studying at home. They can't be going out. They might as well learn something online.
I think that's really, really good because, as you may know, people generally have the idea for the LSAT, but now that there's a new change, everybody's looking for all the information online, like LSAT Flex, and it's really good that you've already jumped on and you're providing all of this information for students because, I mean, it's not easy to be one of the first or like the pioneers to provide this type of information. So it's really, really good what you're doing. So on behalf of me and everybody else that's taking the LSAT, thank you so much.
Thanks, Tina. I really appreciate your having me on. And I'll just remind folks they can feel free to reach out to me anytime. Steve Schwartz over at the LSAT Unplugged YouTube channel, as well as the podcast of the same name. I've also got a Facebook community. I've also got an Instagram, and I'll share all the links with you if you want to share them with your audience.
100%. I know so many people who I'll make sure get on this because it's going to be really helpful to them. So I'll make sure to share your links with everybody.
Thanks, Tina. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so, so, so much. And best of luck with you and LSAT Unplugged for the rest. I know you're going to make it big because I'm telling you, I was looking at your videos, everything. I was sharing them with everybody, and you're giving out so much information, and not just general information. And the fact that you're reaching out to so many people and you're having so many collaborations, I think it's really, really helpful to people because they're having a perspective from so many different people who are approaching the same issue, which is the LSAT.
That means a lot to me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.